Good morning. I'd just like to say how much I love Nancy, and I know the whole church did too. And our scripture reading today is from the book of John, chapter 14, verses 1 through 3. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may also be also. May the Lord add his blessing to this reading. Amen.
Good morning and welcome to the Hudson Seventh-day Adventist Church. My name is Pastor Rob, and it is my privilege this morning to extend a warm and hearty welcome to everyone who's here. This is a very, very special place today because we're honoring the life of a very special person, Nancy Drew, who was very, very dear to me, and I know she was very dear to you. And so on behalf of my family, I also would like to extend our deepest condolence to the Drew, the whole extended McDonald, the extended family that is here. And I also want you to know that your presence on this day makes it memorable for the families as we celebrate the life of Nancy. And with that, I invite you to pray with me as we open our service. Father, we bid you good morning, and we just simply thank you for this beautiful day that is upon us. Lord, we have come here to celebrate the precious life of someone who has been so dear to all of us, Nancy Drew. We ask, Lord, that you receive this service and our tributes, our songs, and our prayers, Lord, but in a very special way, that you lift up and encourage and bring hope and joy to the grieving family of this time, to all of us, Lord. Lord, thank you, because we know that the life of Nancy continues to be hidden in your hands up until the day of the resurrection. Bless us to this end and receive us as we are, Jesus. For we pray these mercies in your name. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, we're going to be delighted by special music by Hannah Drew.
Amen.
There the Bible tells me so. have a short poem. It's called I Miss You, Mom. I thought of you today. I thought of you with love today. But that is nothing new. I thought about you yesterday. And days before that, too. I think of you in silence. I often speak your name. All I have are memories. And your picture in a frame. Your memory is my keepsake, with which I'll never part. God has you in his keeping, but I have you in my heart. Amen.
Amen.
Hi. I know most of you know who I am, but I'm going to introduce myself. I'm the youngest of my mother's 4 children. Probably the least likely person to deliver my mother's eulogy. But I'm glad I am because I feel like it's a great honor. So I've talked with a lot of people over the last week, and I've received a lot of cards in regards to my mother's death. And the 2 words that were repeated the most were love and special. And my mother was truly a loved and special person. I mentioned I was the youngest of her 4 children, but I'm not sure that's really an accurate statement because many people all through her life thought of her like a mother. She's been known as Ma, Mom, and Mama in her later years. And the only way I can put it is my mother just had a way about her that was all her own. And I know you all know what I mean. She just attracted people to her. She had a way of being fresh and endearing all at the same time. She was a homebody. She didn't go visiting many people. They came to see her. And, she loved her friends and being involved in people's lives. One of her favorite pastimes was sitting in her kitchen table, talking and laughing and being a hostess. Friends were welcome into her home with some sort of over-the-top spread of food. There probably isn't anybody sitting here right now that hasn't been fed by my mother at least once, probably several times. I'm sure at one point she had over 100 hardback cookbooks with scraps of paper sticking out all over the place, marking places that she would have recipes that she'd intend to do at some point. Another attribute of my mother's was that she was giving. If there be such a thing, she was generous to a fault. Christmas was a prime example. It was traditional for my mother to be in debt for about 6 months after Christmas. And it wasn't just the amount of presents that you got from her, it was her presentation. She wrapped things beautifully with lots of ribbons and bows, and then you can't forget all the candy that was stuck all over the presents. But it wasn't only the things that she enjoyed giving. My mother was always ready to listen and give advice. She also was generous with her time, and she helped a lot of people in a lot of ways over the many years. My mother really never had a lot of money, but she loved to shop. In fact, the opening day of the Hudson Walmart, she spent almost 9 hours there. We didn't know where she was, and when she got home, we said, "Where did you go?" And she said, "I was at Walmart." And we said, "Well, what were you doing?" She said, I shopped, and I bumped into people I hadn't seen for years." She said, "And then I got my hair cut, and then I had lunch, and I shopped some more, and then I got hungry, and I ate supper." It was no big deal. Another thing that was a part of my mother's life, a big part of my mother's life, was work. She thrived in the work environment. She was a leader. She wasn't just a leader, she was a kind of leader that she worked alongside of people. She didn't just give direction. You know, she worked just the same as everybody else. But there was also no mistaking that my mother was in charge. She was liked and respected in almost every case, and everybody enjoyed working for her and with her. Her friends thought she was crazy because she retired. She was home for 9 years, and she decided to go back to work. She accepted a job and worked all the way up until probably 3 days before her last hospitalization. She was 73 years old when she did that. My mom, over the last part of her life, battled a lot of health challenges. She had COPD, she had diabetes, she had had cancer before, she's had two heart surgeries, and to top the list off, she had kidney failure. But she earned the name Comeback Queen because there were so many times that we thought she was going to be down, and she just got right back up again. We used to tease her that she'd been admitted to every hospital in Massachusetts. Actually, some of them more than once. But even the medical staff ended up loving my mother. There was one time that she was in the hospital, and the nurses literally brought her right up to the nurses' station, her bed right up to the nurses' station, because they loved her company. And she loved that too. But above everything else, her family was the center of her world. And she was the center of our family. Our house was loud and busy and very informal. It was full of quick-witted humor and sarcasm. I'm sure we looked like a bunch of untamed animals to the outside, but my mother made sure we knew what manners were, and she made sure we knew how to use them. She had a way with words, especially when it came to discipline. She used phrases like, "I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap." Or she'd say, "Do as I say, not as I do." And this was my personal favorite. She'd say, "You see this broom? Keep it up, and I'm going to make you into a lollipop." And then there were her personal phrases that she used, like, "You will in a pig's eye," or "bull puppy." Us kids harassed my mother unmercifully, and although she'd never admit it, she loved it, and so did we. Then there are her grandchildren. Some of my mom's happiest moments were spent with her grandchildren. She was so happy to have that year with them, and she used to brag about Jacqueline playing golf, and she had a lot to say about her grandkids a lot of the times. She also used to get herself and them into trouble quite a bit. But she really loved them a lot, and I know that they loved her too. And then there was my father. My mother was a dedicated and doting wife. In fact, my father had it made. He didn't have to do much, but he worked hard. When he came home, my mother made sure he was taken care of. There wasn't much my father could do for himself. In fact, it was pretty common knowledge that when they went to a restaurant, my dad did not know how to order a meal. He'd look at my mother and say, "Nance, what do I want?" And she'd tell him what he wanted. And they were both happy that way. There's a lot that you can say about my mom. It's obvious that a lot of people love her. It's all I've been hearing. And if I had a nickel for every time that somebody said, "I love your mother," I'd be seriously rich. I'd be very well off. I was privileged to be able to be with my mom a lot the last few years of her life, and I really am happy for that. This is just a small little microcosm into my mother's influence and impact on people. People that knew and loved her, but the biggest will be the hole that she leaves in our hearts in her absence. She'll be sorely missed. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Amen.
Thank you, Amanda. That was beautiful. My name is Pastor Mark Gagnon. It's been my privilege to have been Nancy's pastor for the last couple of years since they moved up to the Athol area. And the family asked me to officiate here at the service this morning. And Jimmy requested, and I think the family desired, that if there was someone who wanted to perhaps just stand where you were. I think we have a roving microphone that could come around and perhaps just share a little thought or two about Nancy. At this time, we want to give you an opportunity to do that to those who knew her the best.
Good afternoon. For those that don't know me, my name is Pablo. Mama took me in 13 years ago. This church loved me and most people hated me. I'm not who I used to be. And I'm amazed at who I am today. What is this about? I love you all in a special different way. Each and every one of you means something to me. I'm just proud to be here today to represent Mother. Because the person that I am today, I give her some credit. Because we build each other's character. But we ultimately, Jesus is character. And with that, I want to say, I love you, Father. Thank you. Thank you, Father. Just show up the hand on this side. Right to the water.
Yes, over here.
I didn't know Nancy all that well, but I do know a son of hers quite well. When I think of Nancy, I think of Psalms 116:15 that says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." And so I think the Lord is happy that she is out of her misery and out of her pain and technically out of this sin-filled earth. And the next face she sees will be Jesus himself. And that will be a wonderful time. Now, it says, "Blessed are the precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." And her sainthood continues through her wonderful children that also love the Lord that she loved. May you all be blessed and comforted.
I'd like to say how much I appreciated Nancy sharing her talents. She was very artistic. And one time she did a class here at our church on making little note cards. And I learned so much from her. And I'm sure there are many of us who received little notes from her that she not only wrote on, but that she designed herself.
Thank you.
I wasn't going to talk, but I'm going to.
Well, I'm Rick. I'm Nancy's, I guess I'm the oldest of her three nephews. The thing I'm going to miss most about Nancy, I miss a lot of things, but my mom had a Christmas party every year. We used to do a wanted to swap, and it didn't matter what either one of us got, we always tried to take each other's, and forever she would send Hannah after those things, because I would never take anything away from her. She was wrong. I ain't gonna miss her.
Thank you so much.
Nancy was a very special friend to me, and I often remember the wonderful vegan meals she would cook me, and I'd be coming to church and not even knowing that she was going to bring anything, and she would give me these meals to bring home. And it was some of the most wonderful food I ever had. But what means most to me is I've had many times to share with her the love of Jesus, and many times I saw how much she really loved Jesus herself. But the most important thing that I thank God for is, a couple of weeks ago, she was up at Marlborough Hospital, and I went up to visit with her, and I had 20 minutes with her all alone. And it was I'll never forget it, it was very special to me. And I talked to her about the love of Jesus and how to make sure that she's right with God, and she was agreeing with everything. And I thank God for that special time, that I had to share the love of Christ with her. And I'll never forget one special time when I was telling her that Jesus, when he was on the cross, there was a point there where he was convinced if he went through with it, he was never going to come out of the grave. And I told her that in Luke 15, 1-4, if she was the only one that ever sinned, Jesus would have went through all that for her. And that's how much he loved her. He was convinced if he went through with it, that he would never come out of the grave, and that he decided to still die for her, hoping that she would accept what he did, And so we're going to miss her, but Satan can't get at her anymore. Her salvation's secure, and we want to be ready when Christ comes to meet her again. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Anyone else? Thank you, Sharon.
I just want to say that she treated me like a daughter. I wasn't an in-law, and she made sure of that. She in fact, sometimes June would get upset because she would always defend me. I was always right. And she'd always say to him, now you better treat her good, or I'm coming over there. So she was always in my corner, and I loved her a lot. She was very sweet. She seemed a little tough sometimes on the outside, but her heart was super soft, and she had a lot of love to share, and I felt very accepted into the family.
Yes, one of the first memories that I have with her, obviously my sister is married to her son, and I've been introduced, and we had met a number of times, but the time that really stuck out to me at the beginning was when she came to my son's baby shower. We were going through our gifts, and it was funny because when Amanda was talking about being a giving person, it just rang true with my experience with her, being such a giving person. You should have seen the size of the gift, the bag. It was more like a trash bag. Like the size of it, it was one of those gift bags, but it was so huge. I've never seen one so big. And literally, it was like the bag that never ended. We kept pulling things out of it. It was like outfit after this and that. And I'm looking at her, and she's just laughing. And at the end, I went over and I gave her a big hug, and I said, "Oh my goodness, what happened with all this?" She goes, "Well, I got shopping." And this was so cute, and that was so cute. And I had to get this, and I had to get that, and I just got it all. And oh man, and that, another time I was at Jeff's house, and she had made this cake. What's the name of that cake, Lisa? That really heavy, you eat 1 teaspoon of it, you gain about 10 pounds. Ganache, yeah, that was it. Oh my goodness, my sister came to me, she goes, "Did you try Nancy's cake?" And I was like, "Nancy has a cake?" She's like, "Yeah, try it over there." So I cut myself a big piece, I like cake, Let's just say I put about half of it down, and I was done for like lunch and supper. I polished it off and I probably didn't eat for like that next half week, but it was like the most delicious cake.
There was actually a pound of butter in just the frosting of that.
I think her son learned that from her because like everything that he makes has like a pound of butter in it. But anyways, God bless you.
The first time that I had any experience with the Drew household was cookies sent in the mail from Mona. And she was really caring. She really wanted to make sure that she showed her love. And she did that oftentimes with food. But she did that with so much food. And she welcomed us into, she would welcome anyone into her life. She welcomed me into her life. We had a lot of good times.
One thing I want to say about Nancy when I met her, we all would miss her dearly. It's a radiant smile, her willing to always help. She always like, how are the castles? How's my little Tyree? Which is, he's 9 years now, and that's about the time that I met Nancy. She'll be surely missed, but she's also in Jesus' hands now. And may you guys, the family, be comforted. I know that we're mourning also with you. But we're hoping that there's going to be here shortly, very soon, that we'll be reunited with our loved ones. Bless you guys.
I just want to add something. Amanda said about Mom cooking and food. She was talking to Sherry and I once, and the way Mom felt about, like Amanda said, we didn't have much money. Mom and Dad never had much money. But she said, this is the way I feel. She said, you may not be able to pay your bills. Your mortgage may be pressing on you and everything. The car may be breaking down, but as long as you have food in your refrigerator, it makes you feel good. And that was Mom's philosophy. As long as your refrigerator was full, you had food in your cabinet, you were all set. So when somebody was having a hard time, Mom went shopping. Because let's be honest, we're Jews, we love to eat. Mom trained us well. So that's what she used to do, is help people with food. You heard the gifts, but the food, that was Mom.
I'd just like to say that Nancy, we kind of designated Nancy as mother of our church here at Hudson. And she accepted the role and kept us in line. And she was always helpful, like when Jim and Sherry had the projects, outreach projects and stuff. She was always there, helping out with her smile and making sure everything went according to plan. And she was a gracious mother. And I guess I could be part of the new family too, because I love to eat.
Well, I'm her granddaughter, and one of my favorite memories, when I was at her old house, I would be laying on her bed, and she just kept bringing food into me. She would tell me how much she loved me, and it would make me feel so good, and I always laughed with a smile and a full belly.
Thank you very much, all of those who shared with your little testimonies and stories. And I believe now the program says that we're going to have some sharing with some pictures that Jim's put together. So we'll look forward to that at this time. Thank you.
All I gotta say is, this was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And I hope you enjoy it. One other thing is if anybody does want it, a a copy of this. I made 50 copies in DVD, so if anybody wants this, they are more than welcome to have it. This is what I can do up here. I tried all this work. Okay,